Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Casual Debate, where we discuss topics from pop culture to politics from the point of view of various students. And in our second episode of our third season here, we'll be discussing two smaller topics. One topic being the topic of homework, and the second topic being the topic of homeschool. And so with that, let's get into the discussion for this episode.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Casual Debate podcast. This is our second episode of this season. Today, we'll be talking about whether homework should be banned and whether homeschool is beneficial to students or not. Today, we have Vincent,
Hello.
Wesley,
Hello.
and Lauren.
Greetings. All right. Thank you, Josh. So our first topic, should homework be banned? Fun fact, this was actually the first ever topic of Casual Debate in our pilot, but that was not a very good episode.
And it
So-
was
It was horrible.
Yes, it was horrible. So let's get into
Wait,
that
how long
topic.
was it?
3 minutes.
It was really short.
Anyway,
minds have changed.
should homework be banned? So general consensus, what do we think so far?
No.
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 I
But
think,
we shall
yeah. Of course
reform.
oh, the qualifier.
Because there's some homeworks that are just so monotonous and pointless that they don't teach you anything, and they
Right.
don't help you. They're usually even just weigh you down in terms of like homework completion, but it won't
Indeed.
teach you anything, and it won't really help you retain any information. Some teachers will justify that as like something to get your brain moving, but I think there's better ways to get your brain moving than just nonsense work.
If you want to get the brain, wait, has any teacher actually told you that? Oh, it's
Yeah.
just to get your brain moving?
Yeah, because like, well, not just that, but like that's one of the, um, benefits of homework is that it makes sure your brain's like always working and
But isn't that what school for
I
8
know. I mean,
hours a day
Like
is
if
for?
if the purpose was to get the brain moving, why don't you just teach
What's
them
going
something?
on
Why-
in
why
school?
don't you
What's
just move
going
the
on
brain
in
at
school?
school?
Yeah.
I know. I don't like that argument, but it's what I've heard before.
Yeah.
I think what should be considered most at its forefront is how much time each student spends on homework. We just did so in Mandarin class, we do a warm up each day, and we had to answer in Mandarin. How many hours a week or how many hours a day do you spend on homework? And the average was 4 hours.
That
That's
is a
too
lot.
many hours.
I spend 3 to 4 hours alone on physics.
Yeah,
Ugh.
that's too
But
much.
to be fair, to be fair, it's not just busy work. Like it legitimately takes me that long for me to like think through the homework and like get it in my head and whatever.
Yeah,
And
I'm a slow worker.
that's part of the reason why I don't want homework to be banned, because it's beneficial in terms of physics. Homework is sort of beneficial because that's like half of the learning, you know.
Yeah,
Because
like homework
thing about
itself
physics is
is
that you
not a
can't
bad
really
thing, but it's
teach
the
it.
way that you present the homework or what the homework is. Like
think-
if it's something
Wait,
if
wait,
it's
Vincent,
something that
what do you mean by that?
no, I shouldn't have said it like that, but like what the contents of it are. Like is it something that's gonna actually help them out, or is it
Oh,
just a bunch of random facts that
Yeah.
you want them to know for no reason and they won't remember it a week later?
Yeah, and Wesley, you said something about reform.
Indeed.
Can you elaborate?
All right. With homework being said, I think that the major premises, or what I consider to be the core value of why homework exists in the first place, is simply one word. That is review.
Mm-hmm.
I think that homework should stay as review, and should be nothing more than good practice.
Wait,
In
so
class, you
wouldn't-
spend 8-something hours learning and taking in information. I feel like homework is the time where you reciprocate those skills and practice them so you're ready for the next day.
So wouldn't that count as busy work in a way?
Prepping
Yeah,
and
if-
busy work are two very different things.
Like,
When
the
you're
homework
trying
is
to
beneficial
rehearse,
and
when
it'll
you're
help
trying to
you.
rehearse yourself into doing similar problems and kind of like expanding your mind on how to apply certain concepts to different situations, that's what I think is the best way to handle homework. Busy work is just you utilizing boring time and just writing down different facts that doesn't
Yeah.
relate to the topic, or
Yeah.
reviewing over
But you know that
information that just might not be on the test at all. It's just something
No.
that
Oh,
you're
I hate
doing,
when that
quote unquote,
happens.
for fun.
you know what that reminds me of? Like, you know when teachers give out homework and it's like a coloring page?
I
Exactly.
hate those. Or
I
like the
don't like
math
that.
ones. The
That's
Oh,
what
math
I
ones,
that's what I
ew.
That's
consider to be
busy work.
busy
Okay,
work.
yeah,
That
that
is
is
what I
busy work.
consider to be busy work.
But
crossword.
And it's due too. Like it's for points.
I
Mhm.
Like,
don't.
Okay, we don't do that.
If we
what?
take out the
No,
aspect of
if we're doing
points, I
something
think
fun like a
homework.
crossword, it's like for a Friday because they don't know what else to do.
Okay, wait,
That's terrible. Then just
what were
don't
you
sign
saying?
homework. I think homework just should not be graded. Essentially, like I understand there should be participation points and things like that, but that should be like left for like classwork. You know what you do
Yeah.
actually in class. What you do when you get home should be kind of up to you on how you're gonna prepare for the next day. Though I don't think that students should just be free to do whatever because they should prepare for the next day. There's this thing in education called like the forgetting curve, like the matter like if you don't repeat and review, you're going to
Mhm.
forget something after a certain amount of days. Like
Yeah, so
more than 50% is lost after only 2 days.
Yeah,
yeah,
so
so
in that
let's say
instance, homework is pretty beneficial to retain important information.
yeah, let's say homework isn't mandatory, it's optional, right?
Mhm.
A
Mhm.
lot of people would stop doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like the reason why it isn't uh optional is because they're trying to compel
Yeah.
students into doing the work and trying to like I don't trust a lot of teenagers with their decisions, even
Mhm.
Oh,
myself.
these damn kids. We,
Kids
oh,
these days don't like
these
doing
young
their
Yes, so
homework.
whippersnappers
it's like
always on my lawn.
homework can be beneficial in terms of showing the student like different things, you know,
Or even
or
good
like
work habits.
or yeah, it could also help develop work habits, workload,
But
and
shouldn't that be just the responsibility of the students, not for like the teachers to baby them? At least in higher education, homework
yeah,
for like
like
elementary school kids and junior high,
when
that's fine because it's not like overbearing.
you give
Coloring.
someone homework, is that really babying them?
Because it's just I see it as sometimes like holding their hand, telling them, okay, you have to do this, this, and this for like some assignments, at least with the busy work. If it's like actually related to the content, then that's fine. But
I don't know. I just feel like it's better to just have them do something because one keeps your brain somewhat active, and that's if the homework is actually beneficial or making you think. And it also shouldn't remain banned. No, it also
Shouldn't.
homework should still be a thing
Mhm.
because, like I said, I don't trust a lot of teenagers, lot of teenagers with their decisions, and I still haven't found the word. Oh my god.
okay, so Wesley, what are your thoughts about those comments?
Josh, you mentioned that you wanted people to work so that their brains can start running still, like after school, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I do slightly disagree with that, depending on the context.
What context? Okay, so let's say, so how would it not be? How would it not work? How would it not be beneficial?
Here's what I'll say to that. If it's work that when you're learning something from the homework, that's why I disagree. That's why I draw the line and say no. This is
That's the
garbage.
essentially the teacher's job being
That
done
is
at
the teacher's
home.
job,
Yeah.
correct? However, that's what I
It
think.
should be doing.
Yeah.
I think you're
It's not
saying it
the
should be done at
worksheet's
school,
job.
right?
The teaching should be done
Yeah,
at school, correct?
the teaching shouldn't be done at school. Yeah.
All right, so now we'll be moving on to our next topic, our next question, I should say. Is homeschool beneficial or not?
Here's the thing. I don't think any of us here, at least from what I know, have been actually in homeschool.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I don't know enough about what it's like to be homeschooled.
But maybe we can go off some of our distance learning, not entirely, but you know.
I mean, I have a friend who's who has been homeschooled for like a majority of their life. And the reason why I don't not like, but I don't enjoy the idea of being homeschooled is because you lose out on a lot of social interaction with your
Yes.
peers. You're
Exactly.
okay. My friend, they're not a loner, all right? I'm just want to say that, but I feel like
They're more likely to be
yeah,
isolated, essentially.
it's like
Yeah.
if my friend were to be put in a public school setting, it would almost be like culture shock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the raises the question: what happens if they want to go to university after, like, if they do
Yeah,
13
homeschool.
years
Yeah,
of
that's like complete
educate of
whole new world. Yeah.
yeah, and then going to
University.
university? People from public schools still have issues going into university. How
I
is it
know we're
gonna
gonna have culture
transfer?
shock,
Wait,
and
wait,
we're in
really?
public schools.
Yeah,
Wait. How culture shock? How for public schools? So
you could just because it's a different environment, but because that person or people in homeschool have real, they're limited in social interaction, at least compared to public school students. It might be like a more steep learning curve for them compared to people that have already been in a large like social environment in the form of public school.
But
Okay, so what are some of the good aspects of homeschool? One thing I think of is a flexible schedule. I had this one friend growing up in elementary school. Before she came to our school, she was homeschooled. Why? Because she did gymnastics, and that was like, the whole thing with gymnastics. You start really young, and it's really intense throughout your years. You're supposed to be in school,
I
and
didn't
so
know
a
that.
lot of them are homeschooled at that point. And when she
I
came,
wasn't
it was
aware.
even a shock for her to come into elementary school. But I think a benefit of homeschool is you can have a very flexible schedule for those
Yeah, and you also have
kids.
freedom.
Yeah.
With a flexible schedule, you get freedom. So like my friend who was
Freedom to do
homeschooled,
what?
like it was in the middle of the school year for me, and they're out here like in Disneyland or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I'm getting piled up with all these different projects and stuff, and they're out there in Florida on a road trip to New York. Like
And I think going along with that, like personal freedom, there's educational freedom. Like they can move at their own pace. Like say you're
Oh,
at
yeah.
like your certain classes right now, it's either moving like maybe too fast for you or too slow. They can go however fast they want at homeschool
can they
because
really?
I think, well, it's more flexible than private school or public
Oh,
school. But you can't just ask your teacher, hey, can you make this unit
Yeah.
slower for me? Because they have to take into account, there are 200 plus students or however many they have. Whereas,
Because
like, if it's
honest,
homeschool, your parents doing it, you could just say, hey, mom, can we do this unit for 2 days?
because honestly, I every time I've been told that a course I can take on my own pace, it was not at my own pace. But I had to keep up with the teacher.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I'm
that's
not
true.
someone who
I've
can motivate
I've learned
themselves
to
to do
doubt
things like that.
that
So
statement of like, oh, it's at your own pace.
Well, I think there's for those, it's like you can do as fast as you want, just not as slow as you want.
yeah, that's a better way to put it.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I guess that's
I think there
a
are
better
still
way to
standards
put it.
for homeschool, but the difference between the pacing and private the pacing in public school versus homeschool,
Big.
those are two different worlds.
Lauren, I think you need English homework. You're starting to lose. You need a review on your English.
Average AP Lang student can't speak.
That's what happens when you read too much poetry. It all gets jumbled up.
Okay, Wesley, what do you think about the homeschool?
Huh. I mean, it's a really interesting situation to be homeschooled. That's my first impression of homeschool. I'm just like, whoa, that's really interesting. Simply because there's no like set standard or ground of like teaching. You're relying on a parental figure to like explain everything, how academics works. Like,
Oh, and that's a point too. It's
it's really interesting.
most of your education, if you're homeschooled, is
Yeah.
entirely on your parent.
So
Yeah. And who
I don't
knows how
know.
reliable
It feels really situational because you have awesome parents out there who do a great job at homeschooling, and the kid can go to some great university out there
Yeah.
doing good work. But then you also have the lame parents that can't homeschool, that focus on the entirely wrong things, and the kid doesn't get to go anywhere.
That's true.
So it's really hard to debate whether to say if homeschool is good or not, because there's good cases of homeschool and there's also bad cases of homeschool.
The
What they're
thing
doing,
you could say is teachers, or at least most teachers in a public school system, are trained to be teachers through their years of schooling.
Mhm.
Parents that are doing homeschool, they often do not have those years of schooling, of
Mhm.
teaching behind them. And they also have
Uh-huh.
to, if they're teaching their kid from elementary onward, they
Mhm.
have to dedicate themselves to a variety of
Oh,
topics,
right. You're right. You're right.
like
Yeah, I
English,
thought-
math, science, social
Yeah.
studies, and
Yeah.
take into account extracurriculars that your
Yeah,
kid
yeah.
wants to
Too.
do.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They
Yep.
probably have their
And
own
also
job.
taking
Yeah.
account like standardized programs like AP specifically. However, there's another counter side to that. Specifically that of homeschool kids, from what I remember, if we're talking actually outside of America, I think that homeschool actually is not the worst idea to to
Why
go
is it
through.
worse in the States?
Huh?
Why is homeschooling worse in the States?
No. I found different cases where it's better outside of the states. That's what
Oh.
that's what I meant to say. I remember seeing a YouTube video by Boy in a Band. If you guys know who he is,
Boy in a band.
yeah,
Yeah.
he made an entire video on homeschooling, and at least from what it
Who's
looks like in the Great British area,
The
they
Great British area.
So Great Britain,
Great
Great
British
Britain.
area. Sounds like you need to be homeschooled.
I lost my
too,
words. I
bro.
lost my words. I lost my words. In the England
I
area,
can't believe you go to
it
Great
seems like
British.
it seems like they handled homeschooling extremely well. There's a bunch of different courses out there that are for there's a bunch of public resources specifically that help prep up homeschool kids to enter into a workforce. They prep them well for universities or colleges, and it's actually quite a nice. Uh, it's quite a nice situation for the kid. For me, I'm in a community of Christians. Just kind of putting it out there. I am in a group of I'm in a Discord server that's in a group with Christians. I'm not gonna identify who they are, but I think like 25% to 30% of the people that are inside of the server are actually homeschooled. I'm not even
Oh,
joking.
That's really
A
that's
ton
all
of them
really
are homeschooled.
high.
Yeah. And it's really interesting to see their perspective because again, like people can you stereotypically kind of see homeschool people like, oh, they're so lonely and they're just crowded in their houses. But the friends that I have in that server are like they're popular. They like hanging out with people. They're super social.
Oh my god, they're
Especially
normal people.
yeah, and they really like
I mean,
they
what if-
really like
what if they're-
utilizing media like Discord and Instagram.
Oh my god, what if they're
what if their
AI?
sociability comes from, you know,
From
from
Discord.
like being kind of held in for
Discord.
Yeah,
a good amount of time.
it could be, but I'm just saying that
Majority of the
them
Discord
have
mods.
them in a homeschool environment did not like it did not
Negatively affect
at
them.
least at face value it
Socially.
doesn't seem like they're hindered in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, something to take into account is you spend a lot more time with your family, which is
Yeah. Mhm.
really
Well, that's very situational.
well
Yeah.
because
I assume
parents
that
are
if you're being home-
often
the
the
assumption
teachers, right?
I'm making is
Yeah.
if you're being homeschooled, I think you would be comfortable enough with your parents. Hopefully, of course.
Hopefully, if it's
Yeah.
like in a toxic household, that's
No, well,
That's
I think,
unfortunate.
that's unfortunate. But for those that have like a supportive family environment, that's really beneficial for them because there was a specific statistic. I don't know exactly what it said, but as soon as you leave your house, like your parents' house after 18 or whenever you move out, you pretty much never see your parents. Well, that's situational, but you essentially
likely.
you're less likely to see your
Less
parents
likely.
more often, which is terrible.
Yeah.
So spending more time with them is great, right? at least for that certain
Yeah.
aspect alone.
Okay, you know that joke where like whenever your dad's like trying to teach you some math and you're like crying at the dinner table.
Is that
What?
like all
Like,
homeschool?
is that yeah? I was about is that all homeschool is? Like you crying on the dinner table. You're like 5 + 7. I don't know
What
8.
the heck? Well, I mean, just to kind of, I guess, finish up my point. Um, I don't care if you're homeschooled. I don't care if you went to a
I
public school. I
care.
don't care if you go to a private school.
Right.
If
Vince
you're
checks. Vince checks with everyone he meets. Did you go to a homeschool?
Homeschooled,
did you go to a good public school? Oh, did you go to a rundown public school? Oh, too bad. Wow, I can't be friends. Can't be friends. I
True.
can't be friends. I'm only friends with rich people who go to private schools.
True.
Bro.
No,
Okay.
we don't do
So
private
again, just to
schools here.
reinstate my point, I don't care if you go at whichever education route that you go. If you do good in the world, then I support it.
The only reason why I know I wouldn't enjoy homeschool because I like people too much.
Yeah,
I
that's
I
true.
know I don't like
That's
it.
why
went
I
through
go to
quarantine.
school most days to see people.
Yeah, like a lot of the like throughout almost all of elementary, the reason like I would just like pick up different reasons to go to school. Like, oh, I can't wait to try out this new pencil and I'll be like, oh,
Like
can't
I
wait to
was
go to
never the
school.
type who
And then
didn't want to
we're
go
like,
to
oh,
school.
I can't wait to play this game with my friend. Oh, time to go to school, like that.
Yeah, like I've never
You
wanted to
can't do
skip
that in
class because I
homeschool.
could
Ooh,
talk to
I
my
love
friends.
going to my
Ooh,
desk.
I can't wait to go downstairs. I don't know, do more work.
I can't wait to eat the new rice today.
The new rice. Yo, guys, they came out with a new rice today.
All right, but yeah,
Yo,
so that's Wesley's concluding statement.
yeah,
Lauren, what's yours?
I think what it comes down to is how the parent teaches, right?
yeah,
Because if your parent is amazing and does everything well, then you're going to be fine. But I think for me, it's just homeschool might be less reliable across the board because there's
yeah.
different
It's
parents and
very
not
situational.
all parents are up. You might be a really good parent, but a terrible
Not a good
teacher.
teacher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And that's going to be
so what I'm hearing is that homeschool is beneficial and homeschool is beneficial according to
to
the
the
parents.
parent. Yeah.
Okay.
Which
Like
And,
if
but
your
is that the
parent
same for
is
Wesley also?
amazing, yeah. It I essentially agree with Wesley on most of his points. Like
So for both of you.
but the only thing
parents.
the gripe is the social aspect. Like you don't
Yeah.
get the everyday social interaction. You don't get the everyday like
Yeah, and you
learning
don't
how
get
to
all
talk to teachers, networking in that type of sense. Like team sports. I don't know if they do team sports with homeschooling. Like
I mean, you could just join like a
you could just
soccer
join
team.
like soccer team, but you know that's kind of just built into the
Oh,
public
yeah.
school environment. Um, yeah, but there's a lot of freedom, and that's a good thing and a bad thing. With a lot of
Yeah.
freedom, you have the freedom to be
Yeah, you have the freedom to be social if you have freedom.
yeah, no, for
If you
homeschool you
have
have
like
the freedom to do really well, but you also have the freedom to do really poorly,
Yeah, it depends on
essentially,
the
because
mentality of the student and how the um
there is no
curriculum is.
like public school standard, like there's no teacher barking at you to like you know do things on time. Well, I guess your parent could do that, but it's a different sense rather than
You
being
know,
yelled at by your parent, yelled at by your teacher.
yeah,
Depends
I
on what
can't
you prefer.
imagine going up to a girl or a guy for other yeah, I can't imagine going up to anyone and then them asking you like, hey, what school do you go to? And then you responding, my house.
My house.
My house. My house.
Says their
What school do
address.
you go to? My kitchen.
my,
My
my desk.
Dining room.
Wait, so Vincent, what's your concluding statement?
What is the consensus? Well, I think like we all said, you know, it's very situational. It can go either way. But overall, I think it's a viable option if you, the student, or you, the parent, are up for the job.
So that concludes this week's episode, and as always, Casual Debate was made as a part of the BARC Podcasting Network, which is a student-run organization of podcasters from Chino Hills High School. If you want to support our podcasts, you can check out our Instagram at CHHS Podcasting, or by visiting our website where you can access all the network's original podcast series. Links to both of those will be in the description if you're interested. And if you want to support Casual Debate specifically, you can check out our Instagram at casualdebate.podcast for updates on future episodes, and also check out our YouTube channel if you haven't already. And so with that, thank you for tuning in this week, and I hope to see you in the next episode.